I'm hitting record, and I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Maybe some others will be able to join us in a little while. Well, it's January 5th, 2022. Hard to believe it's a new year, and that it's been a year since our last annual member meeting. Those of you who attended last year would remember that it was on January 6th, which was a really difficult day for our country in many ways. So I've been hoping that that would not be the case for us today. And so far, knock on wood, it's true. But I know how busy everyone is, and I really appreciate you joining us today. And we do have live captioning available. It's an auto live captioning through Zoom, so you can click that setting if you do need the live captioning. And since we're a very small group today, I thought maybe we'd start out just by introducing ourselves, and then I'll give a preview of what our agenda is today. It's not really extensive because we just wanted to save plenty of time for discussions. We have a discussion topic today, but really any way that you might want to collaborate or commiserate with each other would be just fine. So Ursula, would you like to start with an introduction?
Sure. Hello, my name is Ursula Pike, and I'm the Associate Director of DigiTex and also the System Lead for the Texas Higher Ed, the Texas Quality Matters Consortium.
Thank you so much, Ursula. And we'll be hearing more from Ursula a bit later on our first annual Texas Quality Matters Consortium conference that we're planning. Heather, how about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Walker and I am the program coordinator for DigiTex, and it's great to see all of you here today.
Thank you, Heather. We'll be hearing from Heather a bit later about a special meeting that we're holding next week with the experts at the State Authorization Network. Sarah, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Lee, and I am the Executive Dean of the iCollin Virtual Campus at Collin College. So I've been here for a little over a year, and we launched our virtual campus this past fall. So we are busy this week with kicking off for the spring semester, but I'm excited to be here.
Sarah, thank you. And I know there's a lot that, well, somewhat surprisingly, or maybe not, is still really in flux for our campuses right now with the pandemic. So we appreciate you taking the time to join us. And I really appreciated getting a chance to meet with you last semester, Sarah, and talk a little bit about Collin College's participation in DigiTex initiatives. So thank you so much. Terry, I see you've joined us. Hi, Terry.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Terry DiPaolo, Vice Provost of e-learning down the road from Collin at Dallas College.
Wonderful, Terry. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. As I know you're just as busy as everyone else, so we truly appreciate it. Janet, hi.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. This is a wonderful day today, and I am Janet Kemps. I am Director of e-learning at Del Mar College on the coast in Corpus Christi.
Janet, thank you so much, and I truly appreciate your positivity. It's wonderful and very refreshing. Rick, how about you?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Rick Walker, I'm Director of Starlink and looking forward to our continued collaboration with you guys. So thanks for having us today.
Rick, thank you so much. And I have to say, you don't look a day over that photo that you've got.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'll take it.
I was 5 years old. That's hard to believe. Oh, Pamela, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Pamela Dagan, and I work with Rick over at Starlink and Member Services for professional development for higher education for all of Texas community colleges. And nice shirt, Rick.
Hey, thank you.
Always a compliment.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Starlink is such a valued partner with DigiTex and always so willing to collaborate with us. So we really appreciate you joining us.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate you guys.
And Vanessa, I think last but not least, Vanessa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Vanessa Anderson, and I have the pleasure of serving as Dean of Academic Success at St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas. Glad to be here this afternoon. I must apologize because I have to jump off. I'm fighting a sinus infection, so I won't be able to stay the entire time, but wanted to most definitely meet with this awesome group.
Vanessa, I know we all empathize with you in that regard, and just thanks for joining us for whatever time you can. We're recording this, and we'll send the recording out so that you can see anything that you may have missed. So just
Great, thank you.
thanks for taking some time to join us. Okay, so let me just go forward here to our agenda for today. As I said, we really just wanted to highlight some of our current, most recent initiatives that are going on right now. And these include our Greater Texas Foundation funded course sharing expansion project, kind of where we're at with that right now. And some information about our two upcoming DigiTex co-organized conferences, Open Texas 2022 and the Texas Quality Matters Consortium Connections Conference. And then we'll talk a little bit about a special SAN meeting that we're holding for DigiTex members next week. And I wanted to finish up in this presentation with just an overview, a reminder of what exclusive membership benefits for DigiTex members that we have. And maybe some of you don't even know about all of those. So I'll talk about that a bit. Then we really should have, I'm thinking probably about a half hour left to talk about a discussion topic that I just wanted to raise. And then we can really open it up to anything that you might want to commiserate on, collaborate on, hear from others about. I'll do a little poll in relation to this discussion topic too, if I can get that going here in Zoom, just to hear some initial information from all of you about that. Please feel free to put in any questions or anything in chat, but also as we go, feel free to unmute yourself as well. I'll just pause after each of these sections, and if you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to express them if you want to unmute yourself or put them in chat. So let me just start with what really is an exciting project for us, because it's the first grant that DigiTex has ever received beyond our legislative funding that we've had since 1998. And this is a grant from the Greater Texas Foundation. Many of you probably have already heard of this. I just wanted to give a brief overview of the basic parameters. We have been awarded from the Greater Texas Foundation funding of $645,405 over 2 years for a project titled Harnessing Course Sharing to Support Texas Pathways at Scale. The goal is to promote more intentional and strategic use of course sharing to support guided pathways, student progress and completion, and institutional goals at colleges, Texas community colleges. And I'm having some allergies, so pardon me if occasionally my throat is a little bit, or my voice is a little bit strange. I've got my trusty water here to help. Some of the strategies that we're going to implement to achieve this goal, or these goals, is to increase the numbers of STEM and in-demand shorter-term courses within our course sharing ecosystem. We're going to be providing stipends with these funds for instructors for these courses, and potentially for stipends for course development or course revision for the courses. And these funds are going to provide no-cost access to virtual labs and our partner Acadium's academic sharing platform. And then just an overview of who are our participants and our partners for this project so far. This is still a little bit in flux, and we're still adding partners as we go. Acadium is the private company that we partner with to facilitate and support our course sharing across the state and beyond, actually. And we have commitments from 3 teaching institutions who will be offering the courses to our home institutions: Houston Community College, Western Texas College, and Austin Community College. But we have other colleges who have expressed interest in the future as needed to potentially serve as teaching institutions. Terry at Dallas Community College, or Dallas College, has expressed some interest, so we'll be continuing to talk with Terry and see if they have capacity to participate as a teaching institution. And then so far we have these home institutions that you see on the slide that will be participating. The focus so far has been on small remote colleges, as well as those that are designated remote and distant in IPEDs. We may be expanding that roster of home institutions as we go, but these are the ones we have commitments from. We've given a deadline of the end of this week to commit to the project as a home institution. I anticipate we'll have at least a couple more coming on board as home institutions for the project. We're kind of, as I like to say, selling this ship as we go, or I'm sorry, building this ship as we sail. There's a number of things that we're going to be figuring out with our project partners, but we do have a very kind of tight turnaround time. We have some some metrics that we have proposed to our funder that we're going to hopefully be meeting some goals and metrics. But if nothing else, this project is going to help us figure out how to be even more effective and efficient with course sharing across the state, and ways that we can be more intentional and strategic through course sharing. So stay tuned, because I think there's going to be some really exciting developments with this, and some we've already garnered national press for this project, and we anticipate there being even more. And we're very grateful to those who have committed to participating in this project so far. I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions or comments regarding harnessing course sharing to support guided pathways at scale, to scale. Any questions, comments? Okay, I'll move on, but we'll have time afterwards if you think of anything else you'd like to ask about. So we're excited also to be co-organizing our second statewide Open Texas Conference. This is again going to be a fully virtual conference, and we have it scheduled for the dates of September 21st to 23rd, with the exact times and days to be determined still. We're very excited to announce that Dr. Rebecca Karoff at the UT system has agreed to serve as our conference chair for the conference. And we've changed the organization of the conference a little bit this year, and we think it is going to be more efficient. And this is going to include 3 conference committees that will be helping to organize and implement the conference. And we called for volunteers, and we got a great slate of volunteers to serve on these committees, and committee chairs as well from a range of institutions across the state. We have a program committee that's going to be co-chaired by Justin White at UTRGV and Jim Ross Nazal at Houston Community College. We have a promotion and assessment committee that's going to be chaired by Taylor Fairweather Leith at West Texas A&M University. And then finally, we have a digital experience committee that's going to be co-chaired by Jessica McLean at UTA and Heidi Winkler at Texas Tech. We do envision through the years that we are going to be trading off the conference chairship between a university 1 year and then a community college the next. That's kind of our intention that we hope to fulfill in order to ensure that we are balancing both 2-year and 4-year institutions as leaders of the planning of this conference. But we're very grateful to Dr. Karoff for agreeing to chair this. We are going to be, or at least our program committee is going to be working on a call for proposals soon, and we hope to be getting that out, and we'll be getting more information out to you as we have it about this exciting conference. Any questions or comments about it before I turn it over to Ursula to talk about our first annual Texas Quality Matters Consortium Conference? Any questions or comments about Open Texas so far? Good, okay, we are being very efficient today. Ursula, let me turn it over to you as the Texas QMC system lead to talk about this event.
Great, thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and I just want to tell you about the Texas QMC Connections. It's our first annual conference to talk about quality assurance in higher ed. Specifically for members of the Texas Quality Matters Consortium and others beyond the consortium. This is going to be a one-day conference on June 3rd, and it's going to be free to Texas QMC members, which means anybody, staff or faculty who is at any of the 27 institutions within the Texas QMC, within the consortium. And there might be a small fee for non-Texas QMC members. We're still trying to figure out how that's going to look on the budget, but we're definitely going to open it up to people outside the consortium to share their ideas about quality assurance and how they're using it. You know, we're all plugging away at our separate institutions, and the Texas QMC Advisory Committee thought this would be a great time to come together virtually and kind of share our ideas, share our knowledge, do some networking. There's other statewide consortiums for QM. There's one in Ohio, and they do this every year, and I've attended it, and it's a great opportunity for people to just kind of share their ideas and help each other out, and it builds great bonds, I think. So if you are curious about this, I would say watch the DigiTex Connections newsletter. We just sent out one for January. At the beginning of next month, we'll have a February one, and that will have the call for proposals, which will be coming out in 2 weeks. If you're curious about whether your institution is a member of the Texas QMC, I'm putting a link in the chat to the list of member institutions, our webpage on the DigiTex website. And yeah, we're just looking forward to this. We think this will be a great way, because it's a large consortium, and I think that we have developed a lot of really great approaches to quality assurance. So are there any questions at this time about this? Okay, well, just like I said, watch the DigiTex Connections newsletter. And also there's a webinar coming up. We'll talk about it later in this web meeting, and we'll have more information at that one as well. Thank you.
Ursula, thank you so much. I want to recognize Ursula's just incredible leadership of this consortium since she took on this role. I don't know, Ursula, has it been now 2 years? I think about a little over 2 years ago. She has just done an amazing job of, I think, of expanding the consortium, of helping to improve the services that it provides. And she has been assisted, I have to say, in no small part by Heather in this endeavor, who has provided amazing administrative support to ensure that the consortium runs effectively. So, and really, you know, to be very honest, it means that my attention can be focused on our other initiatives. And for that, I am most grateful to both of them in that regard. So thank you both, really appreciate it. Speaking of someone who has really gone above and beyond in taking over an initiative and working to improve and expand it, I'd like to turn it over to Heather to talk about first. Really, this is the first that DigiTex and our prior manifestation as Virtual College of Texas, this is the first one of these that we've done. Heather, I'd like to turn it over to you to talk about this special state authorization network meeting we're holding next week.
Thank you, Judy, and hello again, everyone. I think most of you are probably familiar with my name. I recognize many of your names from my distribution list for the State Authorization Network. So you're probably used to hearing from me by now, and you have probably already become quite well aware of the State Authorization Network and the membership that DigiTex provides to all of our members for free via our consortial membership in the State Authorization Network. So I will just briefly go over the particulars, and then I wanted to tell you about this meeting that we have coming up next week, Wednesday. For any of you who are just now hearing about this, and if anyone is joining us via the recording later, if you're unfamiliar with the State Authorization Network, our consortial membership in SAN does provide assistance for anyone who deals with state authorization compliance at their institution. And the State Authorization Network has an excellent website that is jam-packed with research articles, trainings, webinars. They do monthly coordinator calls, they send out monthly e-newsletters, and they have many other resources that are available to help people who are working with state authorization compliance at their institutions. For all of our DigiTex members, we will have a special meeting led by 3 of the excellent team at the State Authorization Network coming up on Wednesday next week, January 12th at 10 a.m. We hope you'll join us. The agenda will occur in 3 parts, just to give you a quick preview of what you can expect. They're planning to begin with a quick 20-minute presentation followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. So that you can get a feel for the state authorization network, what it does, and how it benefits our members. And then give you a chance to ask the experts at SAN any questions that you may have. Then we'll have 30 minutes for group discussions in small groups. That will also be led by the SAN team, and they're planning to use breakout rooms, hopefully to facilitate smaller, more intimate discussions, and to give you additional opportunities to ask your questions of the SAN team. And then we'll end with 30 minutes dedicated to professional licensure, in which the SAN team will give you a quick overview of the requirements for professional licensure as they relate to state authorization, and then follow with another panel discussion where you can ask any questions that you have regarding professional licensure. I think most of you are already registered. I did take a look at our list recently. If you have not yet had a chance to register for this meeting and would like to attend, let me drop that link into our chat. Please feel free to pass this on to any of your colleagues who may be interested. This is the link to our flyer, which has additional information about the meeting that we have coming up, as well as a link to register so that you can get the Zoom information to join us for that. And are there any questions? All right, well, I guess I'll turn it back over to you, Judy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you know, this really has been initiated and organized by Heather in conjunction with Cheryl Dowd and other staff members at SAN. So I really appreciate you taking the initiative on that, Heather. And I encourage everyone, please, pass on this registration information to anyone on your campus who is involved not only in state authorization efforts, if you are, but also in other compliance issues, things like professional licensure is something that the state authorization provides information and resource, state authorization network provides information and resources on. So please feel free, share this widely. Anyone at your campus can definitely attend that meeting, and we do hope to see anyone there who's interested. So thanks again, Heather. Appreciate it. Oh, Janet, what a nice shout out to Heather. Thank you for that, Janet. Really appreciate it. Well, moving on then. Just my final slide before we get to our somewhat formal, but then hopefully it'll just become a very informal discussion and sharing period before we end the meeting, is just to remind you of some exclusive DigiTex benefits. These are exclusive to DigiTex members, and the beauty of it is that you're automatically a DigiTex member if you're a Texas community college. So there is no membership fee, and you can take advantage of all of these benefits just by virtue of being a Texas community college. And so these include things like reduced platform access fees for our course sharing consortium via Acadian. Really, to participate in course sharing through Acadian's platform is not inexpensive, but it is if you are a DigiTex member college. We only charge $3,000 for this platform access fee, and we actually subsidize that for a number of colleges. And if you're not currently participating but are interested, then please get in touch with me. This is apart from the grant project, because we've been facilitating course sharing since 1998 and doing it with our partner Acadian since 2019. But contact me if you're interested in participating in this, if you're not already, and I'd be happy to speak with you about that and the benefits of course sharing, both as a home institution and a teaching institution. So that's this reduced platform access fee, I think, is a really significant benefit. A number of our colleges, are participating as teaching institutions, and either for that $3,000 access fee or through no cost, if we're subsidizing it for the college, those teaching institutions are garnering a not insignificant revenue through course sharing. So that's something to think about if you were interested in providing courses. But in terms of being a home institution where you are able to enroll students in those courses, it really is a significant way that you can help students to progress through their programs, be they certificate or degree programs, and to complete those, getting courses that they need when they need them. So just let me know if you want more information about that. And Heather already spoke about the benefit that we provide through our consortium membership with the State Authorization Network. This cost DigiTex $8,000 a year to have this consortium membership, but it's something that we feel is a benefit to you, and we hope that those who participate feel it is as well. One of the most recent benefits that we are offering the colleges across the state is a deeply discounted membership in the Community College Consortium for OER. This is a national consortium. Its partner organization is Open Education Global, and it is a very, very valuable organization that provides, just like SAN, a number of resources, information, and networking for those who engage in OER, Open Educational Resource Initiatives. Both Ursula and I are quite heavily involved in that organization as leaders. And we really have seen a lot of benefits for the colleges that are participating. We currently have 8 Texas colleges that are members of CCC OER. We are hoping that we can get more to be members. The regular annual membership fee for a college is $700, but as DigiTex colleges, you only pay $400. But stay tuned, because we are having internal discussions about ways that we might assist colleges who are interested in becoming members in CCC OER further. So stay tuned for more information about that. But if you are interested in becoming a member and you're not, oh, Linda, good. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that, because we're going to be working hard to make sure that any college that wants to become a member should be able to. But in the meantime, if you are interested or you want more information, do not hesitate to contact me or Ursula about that, and we'd be happy to give you more information. Ursula, you mentioned the webinar, and I realized that I really didn't provide a formal place in the agenda for you to give some information about the upcoming upcoming quality webinar that you're going to be moderating. Would you like to say a few words about it?
Yes, it's called One Size Does Not Fit All, Quality Assurance in Higher Education, I believe, off the top of my head. But it is on January 20th at 11 a.m. And I'll put in a minute, I'll put in the chat a link to the registration. And we have representatives from 3 different colleges that are Texas Quality Matters Consortium members, and they're going to talk about how they approach quality assurance and how they incorporate the Quality Matters rubric in their approach. Because the thing I have really been excited to discover is that even though there's specific standards and they're the same, every college has adapted their approach to quality assurance to meet the needs of their institution, based on whether it's faculty development or course reviews. And I just think there's a lot to learn to talk about the variety and diversity of that approach, of those approaches. So yeah, that'll be the 20th. And again, I'll post it in chat, a link to it.
Ursula, thank you. I appreciate you doing that on the fly. I really appreciate it. That's another one of our important upcoming events this month. And in case you've missed some of our webinars, any of them, all of them, what have you, just a reminder that you can always catch them on our DigiTex YouTube channel, and I just put a link to our channel there. We post recordings of all of our webinars, as well as meetings like this one. So that's a place where you can find recordings of pretty much all of the public facing events that we do. So please feel free to take a look at those recordings. Are there any, let me just pause just for a second before I move to our kind of final agenda item, which is our discussion. Are there any other questions or comments that you've thought of in relation to any of these initiatives, or anything else that DigiTex does that maybe we've not covered today? Well, I will say that we are so grateful for the work that you do to support Texas community colleges across the state. I'm preaching to the converted to say how important that work is. And I'm grateful that the country seems to be having a moment where it is it's really recognizing the value of community colleges and what they do to serve students, workforce, to help facilitate transfer and all of the things that you do. Community colleges, in my humble opinion, really are on the forefront of leading innovation in higher education in Texas and across the country. And that is because of dedicated people like you at the colleges. So I do just want to take a moment to say how much we appreciate the work you do and the collaborations that you engage in with us to help support you. So thank you very much. Ursula, thanks for putting that link in there to the webinar. I thought that a topic of interest, because an ongoing topic of interest in this just what seems to be never-ending moment of flux, thanks to the pandemic. When I actually decided on this discussion topic, I was not really aware of what was going to be happening in relation to Omicron right now. But I just thought perhaps that we might talk just a little bit among us about what are the benefits and challenges of the online learning modalities specifically, synchronous, hybrid, HyFlex, et cetera, that your college is choosing to implement on an ongoing and or permanent basis. I've been hearing this in a number of our meetings and webinars as just kind of an interest in what others are doing, some challenges, the benefits to engaging in these different modalities that provide increasing amounts of choice and flexibility to our students, which I think is a good thing, but also can create increasing challenges for us as higher education and specifically digital education professionals. So let's just think about that question for a moment. And I would love to hear from everybody. Before we do, let me stop my share and let me share a poll with you and just get an initial sense of what everyone is doing in relation to this. I know we're a small group, but let's get rid of that here real quick. Let me launch this poll, and it really is just a question to ask you, what are you doing in relation to these various modalities of online learning? And I'll put up the poll, and then what I want you to do is I'm not going to define the modalities for you because I know that actually can be somewhat fluid depending on your context, your college, what have you. So just however you and or your college define each of the modalities, let us know which ones you're engaging in, and please select all that apply. Let's see if I can get this launched. Can you see the poll okay? Good, okay. Just take a moment to hear what folks are doing. There may be other options, and perhaps you'd like to suggest some after this, but these tend to be the ones that I've been hearing about more and more. I myself am seeing some interesting results. I'll share these results here in just a second. Let's just give about 15, 20 seconds more if you want to participate. Ryan, it looks like you just joined us. Welcome. We're just engaging a little poll here to jumpstart a discussion. So if you can see the poll, please feel free to respond on behalf of your college. And Ryan, we are recording this so that you can see and listen to what we've discussed so far, or share it with anybody who might be interested at your college. Give Ryan a second if he wants to. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and show you the results here. Can you see that? Heather, Ursula, can you see the results okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Good. Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, so looks like the most are doing fully online. as well as asynchronous. And then after that, synchronous and hybrid and blended. And then one person said that they are doing HighFlex. And maybe that person, while we're talking, might want to kind of share perhaps how they're defining that and the benefits or the challenges related to that. But I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing these results and just open it up to you all to talk about this. And we can certainly morph into just really anything that you might want to talk about, because we see this meeting as an opportunity that you might not get very often to just talk amongst each other, share, commiserate, collaborate. So we can start out with, this topic. What are some of the challenges and benefits that your college is seeing to engaging in these modalities? Who might like to start?
Hey Judith, this is Terry. I think it's really interesting seeing the HighFlex option as having such limited use. And I think it's interesting for us as a group in the community college setting for that to be the case, because I think what it talks to, at least some of the challenges I'm seeing within my own institution, are barriers within the technology we're using. But barriers in the actual infrastructure that we have, the actual buildings, classrooms that we have, and how it's not just the wires that go into the building. It's actually our classrooms haven't necessarily been designed for HighFlex, and we really have to kind of revisit what space design looks like as this kind of modality grows. And it's important we do that, because I think there is a danger we could be left behind 4-year spaces that may have the resources to play around with flexible spaces and the technology required. But we need to be intentional about where we use the modality as well, where HighFlex is going to be most effective. So some initial thoughts there.
Terry, that's a great point about the resources that you might not have to do it. Generally, just so we're on the general same page, HighFlex tends to be defined as simultaneous face-to-face instruction with, at the same time, synchronous online instruction, correct? That you have an instructor in a space. They're teaching students in that space, but they are also teaching to students in a distance modality or an online modality. And I know one challenge I've heard, and as a former faculty member, I understand this. If that's how we are defining it, and that's, if that's what HighFlex is, that's very heavy lift for many faculty members. And to be teaching and to be not only engaging with the students in their classroom, but ensuring that they are engaging in an equal and equitable manner with the students who are tuning into the class virtually. Terry, is that your?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's interesting you talked about the challenges through the lens of faculty. I think the other thing that's highlighted with the whole of the digital ecology is the real issues with digital poverty across Dallas, particularly in the poorer urban areas and the rural areas as well. How HighFlex lends itself to some of the more rural, smaller kind of community colleges in the state. Those challenges are the same for my institution and the students we serve, and the opportunities they have to access high-speed broadband that allows them access to those kinds of learning experiences.
Terry, good point. And Janet, I had seen that your mute was off, so.
Yes, and I just wanted to highlight something that you touched on, and that is definitions. And that's one thing that I think all of us have probably had some questions about. What is it really? And, do we really go back? Well, what are we even looking at? Are we looking at only those things that are recognized by the coordinating board, or do we look at all of the reality? What are we offering? And I think that varies from, the decision on that varies from institution to institution. And I know it does here. We have an enormous number of section, almost codes. And it goes far beyond anything that I've ever seen at any of my other institutions I've been at. But it reflects all of those different takes on how exactly are we providing the instruction to our students? And as far as the high flex goes, the difficulty with that I've seen, not just at Del Mar College, but at other institutions as well. And I've been called in on some requests to be on some conversations at other places. And that is what really is high flex, because how far back are you going? Are you only looking at the synchronous here and there, and not from a one-to-many, as the coordinating board states it? If you have an instructor at their home and where are the parameters for that? So that's something too, and particularly for high flex, because if you go back far enough, around, what was it, 2010, 2011, and that was, there's an element of student choice in high flex. So do we go back that far and include that element of student choice? Do they feel comfortable coming on campus with all these variants and whatnot, or do they choose to stay at home and do it from home? So I think I think it's something that really we probably all struggled with it, and that is definitions. And I know there's conversations at the coordinating board, and Sarah, you know this as well. What are the definitions? What do we need to do to reflect reality? And that's kind of a difficult thing, I think, for some of us.
I think that from my perspective, I think that the coordinating board, and I do think they're in the process of doing this, need to revisit their distance education definitions. That was actually under my purview when I initially began working at the coordinating board back in 2013, because I did have worked in several positions there before this one. And it's complicated, but I don't think that, the definitions don't necessarily reflect the reality at campuses right now. And I think that complicates things in terms of reporting of distance education to the coordinating board. I'm glad you brought that up, Janet. But I think especially with their new division of distance learning that Michelle Singh is heading up, I think that they're working on that and hopefully going to get better at that. Sarah, were you going to say something? I thought I saw your mute.
I was nodding a lot. I was agreeing with what both of these people were saying. I think one thing that Terry said that really struck me was just what an opportunity right now, particularly for community colleges, to lean into this when, because of some resourcing things, universities might be able to get into high flex easier and a little bit faster than the community colleges. But there's just so many advantages to being able to do this. And yes, just the fuzziness where we're at right now, because this is so new, and we've all been living this for the past few years. Our faculty have been so flexible, our students have been so flexible that they're doing things that just don't fit right now neatly into a category. But as administrators and as we like to be able to have things fit nicely into definitions. And so that's just the challenge of, I think, this time period. But I think it's also really exciting because we're going to see just the development of those definitions over time. The next couple of years, I would expect that we're going to see really rapid growth and innovation in how we're capturing actually what we're doing. But, in a way, it is kind of a neat time to live through, to kind of see this. We're pushing the need for these definitions to catch up with us.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more, Sarah. And what I find so exciting is the expansion of options for students,
Mm-hmm.
more flexibility. But isn't it the irony? You brought up the gap in resources often between universities and community colleges. And it is often the community college student that needs the flexibility more than the university student. Not completely, we know that, but across the board, there are more and more non-traditional adult learners. But often there's not the resources at community colleges to effectively serve the students. And I'll come back and reiterate that issue of equity. We have to ensure that the experience for the face-to-face in-class student is, I'm sorry, I should say it the opposite, that the experience for the online student is as good as high quality, as effective as the student who is in the classroom and face-to-face. But that's been a dilemma for distance education and online learning for quite a while.
Absolutely. I think
we all know it can be.
Yeah, and I think we've probably all experienced this. Maybe I know for myself, I experienced it first before the pandemic in a business setting where I was working at a university with two different campuses And we were dealing with a high flex situation, but didn't know it and didn't have that terminology at the time of having some people connecting on Zoom and some people being in a conference room sitting together. And that just creates some challenges in any sort of setting. So for those teachers who are, at the cutting edge of having had dealt with this, for a while now and really learning a lot in that regard, just want to applaud them and everything that goes into that, because it's a challenge.
I've been in meetings. I've been in high flex meetings, right?
Mhm.
And the tendency is to ignore the virtual participants, the virtual attendees. It's not easy to ensure equitable participation on both sides, but it has to happen.
Yeah,
And
it's very difficult.
and I think in meetings, I think it needs to as well, just from that perspective. But Terry, did I see you unmute?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting talking about this piece about modalities. I think one of the things that I've been thinking about is I think it's also given the changes that we've kind of highlighted in this conversation over the last couple of years or so. I think it would service us all well in the community college space in Texas to get a more sophisticated understanding of students' expectations about online as well. So anecdotally, in my own institution, what we're hearing is because of that complexity that comes with being a community college student, the students' kind of expectations or availability of time to spend studying online is less now than it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm having conversations with students who are online students. They're drawn to online because they think they can carve out 2 to 3 hours a week to study an 8-week course online, and that's probably the max when you consider they're juggling multiple jobs, adult responsibilities, the whole gamut of complexities, psychological and not psychological, that come with COVID as well. So I think, maybe there is work we can do as a group around research about what is this kind of pandemic experience of studying online. And I think there's also a piece there about what are the new expectations of not just the classroom experience of online, but what we're seeing is also a gravitation to online study increasingly by students with a host of, can I say, kind of health issues, mental health issues that want to remain invisible, and often those issues are invisible for those students as online students. So I think, I'm wondering what there is that we can do as a group to maybe better understand needs and use and expectations around online across the state.
Boy, that's a good question, Terry. We at DigiTex have had great ambitions to conduct research on digital education, and we have done some, but it's necessarily been more limited than our ambition due to our I think our limited staff. We're a staff of 3, but I think that would be an area of research that could be incredibly valuable, and that if we could collaborate with community colleges on it, I think that would be incredibly helpful. And maybe we could, if we could collaborate with the coordinating board as well. We already collaborate with 2 major initiatives with them on our OER, our statewide OER survey, as well as our statewide conference. But that's something that maybe we could talk to Dr. Singh and her staff about. And the LTAC, the Learning Technology Advisory Council. I don't know if they've discussed this type of research or not, but student expectation. I've taken a note on that, Terry, because I think that could be incredibly valuable.
And just a final note on that, I think there is also something about our nimbleness and agility in collecting that kind of data. I think, a critique level that many a survey in the online learning space is that it can take an awful long time between the implementation of the survey, or even the design of the survey, the implementation, to the sharing of the findings and responding to the findings. I think, it's incumbent on us, particularly in this space, to be thinking about kind of collecting data and responding to it in a very kind of agile, nimble way.
Well, yeah, I so agree with you, Terry. Higher ed doesn't exactly do agile and nimble as well as we probably should, right? But especially, like you said, in this space, this particular space that's constantly changing with new innovations and pandemic and otherwise, I think you're right. I mean, I think that's really important. Often it takes years from collection of data to the analysis of the findings and then dissemination of the findings. And by that time, things can be significantly different in digital education, online learning, distance education, however you want to say it. So that's a good point, Terry. Easier said than done, right? Well, we've got about 10 minutes, and certainly I know no one would complain if we end early, but are there any other thoughts or any questions that anyone had related to this subject? Rick?
Yeah, I just was thinking just to add to what Terry was saying. And I know DigiTex used to broker deals with agencies and organizations to benefit all 50 community colleges. And I'm just wondering, have you put any thought in an example? Accessibility. We used to get a package deal with you guys through Rev and so forth. Is there any thinking about moving forward and using that to broker discounts and deals, especially for the rural schools who can't, maybe don't have the big budgets? And I know that's something we've run into, the disparity between the big systems versus the rural, different budgets. It's all across the board. But is that something in your radar? Or?
Rick, it's a good question. And in all honesty, it's a direction we've moved away from because the ROI was not incredibly compelling. Those who were participating in those enterprise license discounts that were being offered by VCT, the numbers were not high enough to continue doing that. Now that's not to say that we might not do it again. And we do it in terms of Acadian. That's kind of the one example of one way that we're continuing to do that. But for example, we discontinued our partnership with and our enterprise license with Rev because it was almost a third of our budget, and we only had about don't quote me, but it was something like maybe 10% of DigiTex colleges that were participating. So it really, we weren't showing a very effective return on the investment of those state dollars in order to do that, Rick. So that's why, especially because we were charged with expanding our initiatives to support OER, to help to make the Texas Quality Matters Consortium more effective, to expand it, and other things that we do, that we had to make a decision to really end those kinds of kind of cost sharing or how am I trying to put it, a kind of resource sharing through our funds types of initiatives. It's a good question, Rick. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do it again, particularly if we did see that there were a really compelling demand for it from our colleges, but it just really wasn't proving to be very cost effective for us. But it's a great question, Rick, and something that we might want to revisit.
It's interesting hearing you say that, Judith, because I think one piece I'm paying attention to particularly is the need for online tutoring, 24-hour online tutoring, because that's exploded. And digging into this, I was also surprised by colleges that have access to 24-hour online college and those that don't. And many of the smaller community colleges don't have access to 24-hour external online tutoring. So that might be something we all want to keep an eye to, how our own needs kind of evolve over the coming year or so.
Terry, it is a good point. For the life of me at the moment, I can't remember the name of the company. They're Austin based, so it's really a shame that I can't remember the company, but there was a pilot project right before and at the very beginning of my term as executive director that VCT engaged in with a company that provided 24/7 online tutoring. And there wasn't, for that about a year and a half that I believe, or 2 years that the pilot project ran, there wasn't much uptake. But that was before the pandemic. And so this, this might be changing and shifting, and it might be something we could consider doing. I'm looking over here at chat, and Linda, we're pumping thousands into, oh, she's talking about Rev to catch up on captioning. Yeah. So, and again, maybe, hindsight's 2020, right? That when we decided to end our partnership and agreement with Rev, that was before the pandemic. And maybe that was, if we would have known that the need for that kind of captioning was happening, no one would have known, right, Linda?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, who would know? It'd still be going on for so long. But it, it's definitely not something, I think, Terry, because of just like what you're saying, and you as well, Rick, it's something that we shouldn't just absolutely say this is not a worthwhile use of DigiTex resources. I think that it's something that we should revisit, especially with the changing landscape of digital education right now.
And I think, Judith, for me, sorry to interrupt, was that there's a further intersectionality with dual enrollment and the growth of that, and our kind of, as community colleges, our role in that dual enrollment piece, that at least in my institution, I think it's probably true of other institutions as well, is providing an additional need in terms of tutoring.
And Terry, dual enrollment is not an area that VCT historically and now DigiTex has been engaged in. And I think that's something that we should consider. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
We're approaching about the halfway mark of our current strategic plan that we had created with the help of some of you here in this meeting. And I think that it's a good time to look back, especially in light of the pandemic, and see how we might need to shift that strategic plan and to look forward to the next one, the next iteration of it, so that we can most effectively. And Rick was one of those.
Yeah, well, that's right. And I was just going to add a PS too, just to revisit. It might be a proposal, because we represent all 50 community colleges across Texas, that, for instance, Linda is pumping a lot into Rev, not coming out of your budget, but maybe we broker a deal that, because they're with DigiTex, cost you $0, but instead of paying $1 per minute, we get a 50-cent deal or something, but you see what I'm saying? Maybe we're in a position with tutoring also, and it makes it reachable for some of the smaller budgets and some of the rurals who maybe don't have, rolling in money and big fat budgets. I'm just thinking out loud, what are the needs? How can we stay relevant and in a vanguard position as, community college leaders?
That's a good point, Rick. I think that's something that we could potentially look into. And you're right, that it possibly might be no cost to us, because it would be in Rev's interest to have, that many of the community colleges participating in their, or using their services, I would say. So I really appreciate those suggestions. And I think that it could be worth it for us to look into. So stay tuned on that. So we just got about right. And I think in VCT time, that was very attractive to, okay, as a resource. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know, Linda. So we're about out of time. And are there any last minute thoughts, questions? Ursula, anything that's come up for you that you wanted to mention before we go, or Heather?
No, this is an exciting discussion, I think.
I think so too. It's been eye-opening for me, and I always learn so much from all of you. So I really appreciate it. And again, I appreciate all that you all do. And don't hesitate to reach out if there's something that we can assist you with. If it's one of our current initiatives that we're already engaging in, then that would be, a lighter lift for us. But if it's something like you've been talking about that we need to explore, then let us know. And we will be looking at some of the things that you suggested. So I really appreciate it. Good luck to all of you. Thank you so much. I just really wish you all the best for the start of your new semester, given all the flux that is still happening. But you all are great at dealing with those things, I know. So I'm not too concerned, but don't hesitate to reach out if we can help you at all. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be in touch. We hope to see you perhaps at our SAM meeting next week, our webinar at the end of the month, and other events in the future. Thanks, everybody. Take really good care.
Thank you.